So let's move to the next question. Difference between ODBC and Oracle connector. Both are same. The purpose of these two connectors are same. ODBC means Oracle Database Connector. Oracle connector is also of the same purpose. Both are database connectors where we can able to fetch the data after connecting to those database by providing their server, user, and password details. Okay. How to read multiple files using sequential file stage. Let me show this to you. So when we do have a sequential file as a source, there in the stage of, so here I'm reading only one file here, right? But instead we can read multiple files. So here in the stage properties, we do have read method. Read method, here what we do have? A specific file, but there is also option called file pattern. If we click on file pattern, then we need to provide the pattern that need to be used. Say suppose I do have file 1.txt, file 2.txt, file 3.txt, something like that. Then what is my pattern is going to be file star.txt. So all the files with this file pattern is going to be read at a single point of time through the sequential file. So this is how we can able to read multiple files using sequential file stage. Okay. How to execute Unix commands from parallel and sequence jobs. So there are, before subroutine, this is parallel job, right? So while executing this parallel job, before starting this parallel job, I would like to execute a command. So then there is this before subroutine, right? Here, if you click down, there is an option called execute sh. Execute sh means shell script. So we can execute a unique script over here in this particular place. Here we need to write test.sh. The files which are ending with .sh are nothing but shell scripts. Okay. So before executing this job, this particular test.sh is the script which is going to be executed. Say suppose I want to execute a script after completing the job, then we can define that in after subroutine. So this is the purpose of before subroutine and after subroutine. This is how we can able to execute Unix commands in a parallel job. Then how we can able to execute Unix command in a sequence is, there is this command activity. So this one, using execute command activity, this is the activity. Using this one, we can execute Unix commands in DataStage. These are sequence jobs. The before one is parallel job. The red color one is parallel job. The green color one is sequence job. So I just explained now that's how we can able to execute Unix commands in both the places, in both the stages. Then the next question, what is star schema and snowflake schema? I'll provide the explanation in later classes. This is something which is related to data modeling or data warehouse concepts. So data modeling means, say suppose we are loading the data to a data warehouse. So before loading the data to our data warehouse, first warehouse need to be structured out, right? So before we do have housewarming occasion, first we need to build the house, right? So that it is of similar. We need to first build the warehouse before loading the data to warehouse. So the building activity is something which is being called as data modeling activity. The structure of the tables are going to be finalized in data modeling activity. So there are two key schemas which are available in data modeling. One is a star schema, other one is snowflake schema. So like how the structure is. So the star schema is going to have one fact table and n number of dimension tables. So what is fact table? What is dimension table? All those things I will explain in one of the class, but do not wait for me. Just Google it where you are going to get all those details, the star schema and snowflake schema. Still, I'm going to explain in one of the class. Okay. Like how fact and dimension tables are going to correlate, what is the information that a dimension table is going to have, what is the order of hierarchy that these tables need to be created. So first, which tables are going to be prepared, and next which tables are going to be updated. So all those stuff is going to be available in this star and snowflake schema question. Okay. What are all the advantages of transformer stage? So through transformer, we can able to write, make use of stage variables. So stage variables is something where we are going to manipulate some needed requirement as an intermediate output, and later we can use them in the column derivations. Apart from stage variables, there is also loop variables. So what is the purpose of loop variables is, in loop variable, we can able to perform certain tasks as a loop activity. Like I do have some 10 characters in a column. I would like to check whether the character is in uppercase or not by checking one element by element in a loop. Then we can use this loop variables or loops available in the transformer. The basic purpose of loops is we can do or implement certain conditional check, or some sort of action can be implemented in a loop for incoming data. After loops, there are constraints. So constraints, we can apply some condition. We can apply some condition where we would like to pass the data upon satisfying that condition. After that, column derivations are there. But here, apart from these things, we can also use the functions. I showed you there are many functions like date functions, string functions. Null handling functions. So here, if you right click and see the functions, there you can able to see all these are sub functions available. In date and time functions, you can have current date, current time stamp with microseconds, and current time stamp date from components, like how many days are there from a particular date, how many weekends are there. So all the date related actions can be implemented using this date time functions. And last row handling, say suppose I would like to do add some certain condition to my last row or the trailer record, then we can use this last row. And we also can have some mathematical functions. Logical means it is going to have, we all studied this and or functions, right? The similar operation. So when we do have some Boolean data means zeros and ones. So 0 and 0 is going to give 1, 0 and 1 is going to give 0, 1 and 1 is going to give 1. So those kind of operations can be performed using logical functions. Mathematical functions, here we can apply sine theta, cos theta, all the stuff of mathematics can be random. So sine, cos, and so all these mathematical functions can be applied using mathematical functions. And null handling, whether some value is null or not, whether something is empty or not, or I would like to pass some empty value wherever there is null, or else I would like to pass Jansi wherever something is null. So all those things, or else for some columns, I would like to set null, pass null for this entire column. Then I'm going to use this set null function. So if I do set null to this ID column, so then all the rows of my output data is going to have null values for this ID column. Okay. Likewise, null functions can be applied using null handling, and apart from that, there are string. The number. So I would like to convert something to an integer, something to a double, something to a float, or I would like to convert the decimal part from my number to something. So all those operations can be performed using number functions. And string functions, which is one of the important area. So here we can do converting the case of my string, we can do compare, we can do convert functions. There is a page which I have already shared what each and every function, left function is going to take left of 5 characters. Say suppose Jansi is there, I would like to know the first character, then left of column name comma 1 is going to give only J letter. If I give left of column name comma 2, then JH is going to come. Likewise, we can use left and right functions. Length is going to calculate the length of particular string, and pad string is going to add some given string. Say suppose I do have Jansi and I would like to add something like hello. Likewise, we can add the padding, string padding can be done. So all those string functions can be applied. And there are a couple other functions. So the type conversions. Type conversions means converting an integer to a decimal or converting a string to a integer. So all these data type conversions can be done using type conversion. You can see char of date to decimal, date to string, decimal to date. So all these conversions can be done. The utility is going to have surrogate key generation. So to understand this one, first we need to understand what is surrogate key or a key, which I will explain. Even though now I'll explain also, it is not understandable for you. And the vectors. Element at means it is going to point that particular element. Say suppose I do have apple. Okay. If I say 2, that means P is the character that it is going to refer. So element at this particular index, that is what the purpose of element at function. So likewise, we can apply the functions in a transformer along with making use of stage variables, loop conditions, constraints, and column derivations. They also ask what is the order of execution in a transformer. So in transformer, at the back end, first stage variables are going to be executed from top to bottom order. Then loop conditions will be applied, then constraints is going to be applied, and at last column derivations are going to be applied. This is the order of execution for a transformer. Okay. Going to the next question, what are the hierarchy of transformer stage operations? We just discussed, right? First stage variables, then loop variables, third one is constraints, and at last column derivations. What are all the date functions available in transformer? I just showed you. When we right click in the column derivation place, after that we need to click on functions, then we need to go for date functions. There we are going to have current date, current timestamp with microseconds. So all those things can be attained using date functions. Say suppose I would like to pass today's date, then I can use the function called current date function. So along with the date, like year, month, and date, I also would like to have timestamp, like hours, minutes, and seconds, including milliseconds. Then we can use timestamp with ms. Likewise, we can use all the date functions in the transformer. How can we implement different joins in lookup and merge stage? So I just showed in the lookup stage, like in the constraint tab, in the lookup condition, we can use that continue, drop, reject, and drop options. Continue is going to perform left join, drop, reject, and what is that? Drop, reject, and fail. All these three options are going, fail is not going to do anything. Reject and drop is going to perform the inner join operation. And how we are going to implement left join and inner join in a merge stages, there is an option called keep or drop. Let me show you. So open stage, where see unmatched masters mode. If we use keep option, then it is going to be act as left join. If we keep drop option, then that is going to act as inner join. This is how we can able to perform left join and inner join in a merge stage. Next question. How to delete a data set? A data set can be deleted using awkadmin space -delete space file.ds. Actually, we need to give the file name of the data set. That is how we can able to delete a data set. Can we read few columns from a data set stage? Okay. This has been asked today, where even I don't know by the time I'm giving the answer. So data set is something which is going to save the data by the DataStage compiler, right? So that is what we call as orchestration data. Okay. Say suppose I am saving a file with 20 columns to student.ds, but while reading in my next job, I would need only 5 columns. Then we can give only those 5 columns, which can be understandable by dataset, and it is going to retrieve only those 5 columns. But it is not the case in other stages. Say suppose we do have sequential file. In the sequential file .txt file, I do have some 10 columns, but I have added only 3 columns in my stage. Then I'm going to get your schema is not in match with the file. Such kind of compilation error is going to be pop up. But here it is, yes, we can able to read only few columns from a dataset stage, because this dataset is going to be saved in orchestration files, which is understandable by data stage compiler. That's why even though we do not give complete schema as derived, still it can able to pull the needed columns if we give the column names. Okay. How to change nodes while running the job. So generally we do have node data over here, right? Sometimes what happens is in the apt config file, in production, this nodes will be defined like 8 node or 6 node or 4 node, something like higher node is going to be given. But there are some jobs which do not need that high node configuration. They just need to run on node 1. Then what happens is this config file, the environmental variable which I am showing in the director log, can also be added to the job properties. So this is there, right? apt config file. Okay. Not so we can add this configuration file to the uh, parallel job, and there we can give the nodes. That number of nodes is going to be set to that particular job. Say suppose I'll give the node as 1. Actually, not using this file directly, we need to mask the file. So say suppose I give some input parameter as 2, then that 2 need to be updated in the configuration file. That is what we call as dynamically configure, setting the dynamic config file. Dynamic means changing while it is executing. So we can change the node configuration dynamically, but we need to first do that setup in place. Once the setup is available, generally admin people or senior members are going to perform that. Do not worry about it. So you can say something like, we already have dynamic configuration setup in place, where we are going to have a parameter which has been added to the project. So we will call the added parameter in our parallel jobs. And while running, if we give the node 1 or node 2, node 4 or node 8, then that is going to be consumed by the respective job. This is how we need to answer it. Okay. We will continue tomorrow, not tomorrow, on Monday from the next questions. Do practice the things, then you will understand more. Okay.